Welcome to the Governance Watch. This is the bold analysis. My name is Frank. Over the past few months and the past few weeks and also the past few days, there seems to be a moving and shifting political tide within the country, and especially with the manner and way in which the Mount Kenya politics are at play. And at first, we thought that these realignments were only on Mount Kenya politics, or in as far as only Mount Kenya politics are concerned. But then for some time, we were wrong. Especially with the realignments and the realization that Rigathi Gachagua is experiencing within his position as the deputy party leader of UDA and also as the deputy president of this Republic of Kenya. Now, yesterday, some headliners who had crossed over to UDA, that is one, Sabina Chege, was being interviewed on KTN News by Ken Mijungu. And having followed the discussion closely, I came to one realization and one conclusion, and not only on Sabina Chege, but also from a host of other political leaders within UDA political ranks. From that talk, Sabina Chege recognized the fact that Uhuru is the de facto leader of Mount Kenya, though she could not authoritatively and candidly come out and recognize that. But to some extent, it wouldn't be wrong to quote her as having said that. Before that, I want you to listen to Sabina Chege speaking on KTN yesterday, then we can proceed from there.
Because Uhuru, who was my party leader, who is a man I respect a lot, served this country for 10 years.
Even before the 10 years?
He's supposed, yes, and he played his political role very well. Mm-hmm. And after 10 years, he is now a retired president. He's supposed to be an elder, who is not supposed only to represent Kikuyus, but the entire nation, and also Kenya, to the world. That's why he was given the role at the Congo DRC. I think he was in South Africa another day.
He's still in South Africa. I think he's still in South
Africa.
And
he's supposed even to sit at a corner where he can also advise the current president. Because Kenya gave him 10 years to govern this country. There's something he knows that the current president may not know, or the deputy, or us as leaders. So he's supposed to be a mentor and remove himself from tribal leadership, and also remove himself from political party.
To his credit, he hasn't accepted that position.
Thank you.
It was given to him in absentia. I want to ask
you, it was given to him by absentia, and it's good he has not commented about it. Mm-hmm. The question is, how do you want to make an elder your errand boy? You want to tell Uhuru now, as an elder, we want you to be our spokesperson?
To convene us?
Look, who is the government spokesman? It is Mwaura. So you are putting now Uhuru. Kwanza Mwaura is even senior because he's speaking on behalf of a government that is a ruling party. But you want Uhuru to become a spokesman of a community.
So according to you, former retired president should not accept that role?
No.
What if he accepts it?
Well, I don't even think he's, as per the constitution and the retirement president benefits, he's supposed to participate in anything political. He's not supposed to. After 6 months...
That clause should be discriminatory because Article 38 of the Constitution becomes more superior than any legislation that comes out of Parliament if it contradicts Parliament.
That's what it is.
It was supposed to bring hygiene in the governance.
And especially when you've been given a chance to lead the country. And I thank God that even when he was leaving, he didn't leave like Moi. You remember when Moi, it was messy when Moi was leaving. It was very messy. And the way we were very close for the elections, this 2022, I was a bit afraid
that it
might go back to what happens in 2002. I give credit to the Kenya Kwanza government, and I also give credit to the former president. He handed over power without any struggle. Because he would have gone hiding, he would have decided I'm not accepting, with a lot of decency, and he finished, handed power and left. And I think that's where he should be. Let him become an advisor. He's an elder, we respect him. Let him not... Now, you can even see the kind or the age of the kind of leadership now we have in Parliament. Can you imagine those young people now starting now to talk down on our former president.
They're already doing it even without him occupying that seat. But
so let him not lower himself to that level.
Who is the leader? Who is the current leader of your community?
That's a very bold question, because their leaders is the church leaders.
You know what I mean?
They also,
political
they are
leader.
Elders.
Political leader of your community.
Political leader, I look at the person who is senior most, who is the deputy president.
But that's not how your community gets leadership, Sabina. I am not from that community, but I know that is not how your community and the position of leadership of a community.
I know there are some communities who maybe the elders sit and now they decide this is our leader.
Yes.
Remember? When the deputy president became the deputy president, it is not that the community said this is our leader or they did any ceremony. He had his own way and his own political party appointed him as the deputy president. So he automatically became the senior most person in our region. And he is the politician, so there's no one else who can claim
that position.
No.
So does he lose it automatically because he sees, because you've said the senior most, who's right now Rigathi Gachagua, right? So did Uhuru Kenyatta automatically lose that position when he stopped being president of the
politically, yes. But if you want to talk about maybe elder, those things that are now traditional, Uhuru will get that space. Because
so he can be a traditional leader of the Agikuyu community.
He cannot be a traditional leader, because also now when it comes to traditional, now there are those different, I don't want to call them, I'll call them chamas, I don't call them sects. There's Kiama, there's Kikuyu Council of Elders, there are different names, now there are many of them. And so there are also wazes who are now also older
than him. So he can't be a traditional leader.
No.
Yet he can be a political leader who presides over everyone,
he
including the traditional leaders.
He can only be an elder who advises. And he can take that position very well, that he can advise. And his role, having been given the privilege by Kenyans to lead this country for 10 years, we cannot therefore reduce him to become we can be very selfish, that we want him to be our community leader. No. He needs to be an elder for the entire country. The Wazes from Kalenjin land should access him if they need any advice. The Kaya people, they should, the Luo, the Luyas, the people from all the regions should have, if it's the Samburus. All those people represent the Maasais, the 42 tribes of Kenya. He was their president. So they can be able to, and that's why you have the office of the former president.
Yes, that is Honorable Sabina Chege. Now, from that, it seems that Sabina Chege has recognized that in as much as they might be or they could be defiant against Uhuru Kenyatta, but then things remain that indeed Uhuru Kenyatta held a special place within the mountain politics, and not only the mountain politics, and also the country's politics. And that could probably form the decision of the perception that they being accorded these members of parliament from the mountain, especially in the manner in which they oppose the president. So, that forms the focus of our discussion today and our analysis today. Now, just before that, Sabina Chege, also within the same segment of the same interview, I want to read for you what she said. That when President Kibaki took office, he said government vehicles couldn't be fuel guzzlers and opted for Passats. So, when you say you are implementing cost-cutting measures, don't just say it. Let Kenyans see that it is true. And also, let's have genuine advisors. Not advisors who only advise based on books, but in reality, end up hurting the same people who voted for you. Now, I remained asking myself, who was Sabina Chege addressing in particular when she said these words? It is evident and it is clear that these MPs who are also within the Kenya Kwanza's political rankings, there are some decisions which seem to be populist decisions and agendas that they are not at home or are not okay with. And in particular in this, I felt that Sabina Chege was addressing the president in as far as the Finance Bill 2024 is concerned. Because, you know, they've come to the realization, yes, we needed to behave in a way so as to please the president, that indeed we are with you, Mr. President, But then now they've come to the realization that the ground is not with the president. Watu wanaumia kwa ground. The proposed taxes that are being proposed in the Finance Bill 2024 are going to add injury, or are going to add salt already to the injury that Kenyans are experiencing. And more so, for them members of parliament from the Mount Kenya, they've realized that majority of their people depend on agriculture, majority of their people depend on businesses for their day-to-day activities. And if they are to continue the political hula balls and the politics of loyalty around President Ruto, then they'll hurt themselves when it comes to 2027. That is why she's saying that let your advices not be based on books, but rather on what people feel on the ground. You know, at some point, somebody was actually making a joke that, you know, does it seem, actually it was a joke in form of a question. And the person was asking, does it seem that the president is always genuinely advised on matters of national interest? And the person then again concluded that, no, we could be blaming the president, but then instead of his advisors advising him, it is the opposite. Then it is him who advises the advisors. That is what the likes of Sabina Chege are lamenting about. So, they've actually come to that realization. And just before, some moments before I came on air, I saw somewhere that Dindi Nyoro was saying that there are some concerns that have to be addressed in that affordable housing thing. I hope we'll come back with a full analysis detail on other segments or on other episodes of our podcast. But now they've come to that realization. You know, we might be playing the populist politics and that so on and so forth. And that is exactly the tone of Rigathi Gachagua.
It is implemented. That matter must be discussed in the respective security committee so that one, it is done in a humane manner. Number two, you decide where those people will go. You cannot come in the dead of the night, evict people, demolish their shelters, and leave them out there. Hiyo ni mambo hatukubaliani naye. So I still want to find out, County Commissioner, that matter that happened in Gekomba. Did our officers oversee it? If they did, tutakuwa na shida. Because tulikubaliana ya kwamba we shall not give security to anybody to demolish structures, shelters, houses, business premises, unless and until the matter has been discussed extensively in the respective security organ so that people are dignified.
He has to realize the fact that, you know, we are in office by the fact that we were elected by the same people to be in office. It is not a moment to be full of ourselves. It is not a moment to be too boastful of the positions that we hold in government. But rather, it's a moment to be accountable to the people who elected us. Though, based on Rigathi's comments, it might be also pegged on politics that he has actually realized that he's losing it. And that now he needs to go back to the people and speak to the people in a language that the people understands, such that he can have a grip on the constituents that he purports or wants their support going forward. And especially with the recent developments within the UDA party and in as far as his position and grip within the party is concerned. Though, still basing on Sabina Chege's comments, there was somewhere where she was asked, can you clarify whether Uhuru is the de facto Mount Kenya kingpin? But all she could say was babble around with words. But if you follow keenly through her body language, then you could realize that she's admitting it, but she doesn't want the risk of admitting it openly. Yes, she didn't want the risk of admitting it openly. You know, she was saying, you know, Anga Uhuru can be a leader in this country, can be consulted by the Luos, can be consulted by the lawyers, can be, and you know, now based on political seniority, Rigathi Gachagua is the most senior political leader within Mount Kenya, and so on and so forth. And also the interviewer seem to be thinking in the same line of thought that I'm in, because if you want to tell us that political kinship is determined by the level of political office that you hold in the country, then to some point you are lying to us. You're not telling us the truth. It would be the same as saying that, you know, currently it is the truth that Raila Odinga is the political kingship in Nyanza. That is the truth. But based on Sabina's school of thought, it would mean that Eliud Owalo or Raymond Omolo or Gladys Wanga, rather, could be the political de facto and kingship of Luo Nyanza based on elected political positions. So, all this crippled together brings us to something that we can only say that actually some of these leaders, and especially the leaders from Mount Kenya, based on Rigath's comments, based on Sabina's comments, they've come to a realization of something called the Damascus moment. You remember the story in the Bible of the story of Saul converting to Paul, heading to Damascus, when going to Damascus. That is the moment that the Mount Kenya people have come to. And even you listen to the tone of the voters actually on the ground. There are clips that we can share. They've come to that realization that, you know, we were living in denial. We were wrong to vindicate, we were wrong to victimize Uhuru. That is the realization that they've come to. And slowly, it wouldn't be surprising to see the likes of Sabina Chege coming back to their original positions. Yes, it wouldn't be a surprise to us and to many other people. Still on that, Sabina also acknowledged something, that she agreed and actually supported Gachagwa's public political apology to one Uhuru Kenyatta some days back, and Gachagua has done this twice. He came out and said, you know what, Uhuru Kenyatta, you are our senior brother, you are our elder, and I was wrong to victimize you in the run-up to the 2022 general elections. But these Gachagua's comments, to me, I just see them as seeking political mileage using the name of Uhuru Kenyatta. I'm not that evil, but if I were Uhuru Kenyatta, I would just behave the same way Uhuru Kenyatta is behaving. Be silent. Because this is somebody who is, seems to be using you as a ladder to propel somewhere. Especially the remarks that Rigathi made in the run-up to the 2022 general elections, where he even called Uhuru Kenyatta that, you know, without me, Uhuru Kenyatta could not be something. I made him. This is a Cerelac baby. How do you call an old man a Cerelac baby? No, it is not done that way. But anyway, back to our discussion. Sabina seems to be in reality with the Rigathi Gachagua that, you know, it's actually the moment now to go back to the people, talk to the people and tell them that we were wrong to victimize persons X, Y, and Z. Because the truth ahead is that even in their defense of defecting from their political camps to the other political camp was that we are going to look for the interests of our people. Now, when they reached there, they found that Ruto served the interest of their people by rewarding his political cronies and loyalists. Yes, he did that. But now come to the basic economics that they purported to be going for. They realized, you know, since Kenya is being controlled somewhere remotely from Washington, who knows? Because even in the Finance Bill 2024, a majority of the clauses are proposals by the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund. And to that, they have nothing to say. They can't say anything. That is even why you see the leaders of the houses behaving in the way that they are behaving. People like the chair of the Finance Committee behaving in the way that he's behaving in. Because he has nothing to input and say beyond that. They have to move along that particular vibe and jibe. So, this is the moment that the reality on the ground has started hitting them. And it's hitting really so hard. And these are interesting times to watch politically. They are very interesting politically going forward. The kind of political discussions that we'll be having and the kind of political realignments that we'll be having. Surprisingly, even now, I'm just seeing on the update on my screen that Raila said that, yes, just said in a press conference, I hope that we'll also delve into this so much later, that, you know, I have no problem working with Rigathi Gachagua. And Raila has actually publicly come back to the proposals that they had in the BBI and saying that it is not for populist politics, but the one man, one vote, 1 shilling call, it's a reality call. So things are just getting interesting. Okay, now let's look at some of the reasons as to why I think that these people from Mount Kenya have come to that Damascus moment, the likes of Sabina Chege, Rigathi Gachagua, and etc. Number one reason, they've actually realized that Uhuru Kenyatta wasn't wrong. Uhuru Kenyatta had the interests of their community at heart. That is a realization that they've come at. So, the only way that they can be accepted by the people on the ground is to actually go to the people and tell them, you know, Uhuru Kenyatta wasn't wrong. If they don't do that, then Uhuru Kenyatta is likely to maybe form a political windstorm that might come with to the people and convince them, now you know, you see, I was telling you the truth. Now you have to support this person X, Y, and Z and leave them in the political cold. Number two, they've realized that financially, Uhuru Kenyatta is still endowed. You know politics about finance. How well do you finance yourself? Are you able to fly today from Busia to Mombasa or from Mombasa to Vihiga? It depends on your financial might. So they've realized that, you know, this man, in as much as we are fighting him, is still endowed financially and he can still move blocks financially. Number three, Uhuru's silence is a worry to them. You know, when we were in school, when we were doing some unit on communication, we saw that we were being taught that, you know what, silence is also a means of communication. When you ask me a question and I'm silent, I don't talk to you, then it means that I've communicated. And that communication cannot be reversed. The communication is irreversible. So Uhuru's silence is a communication to them that this man is not interested in these our apologies or has something at heart that is not telling us. So we have to approach him with a lot of constraint and care. That is the realization that has made them to come to this Damascus moment. So it would be really, and also still on this silence being a form of communication, they've realized that that is actually the kind of feeling that the common Mwananchi is having on the ground. And that is why Rigathi Gachagua is moving around the mountain trying to get to hear what the people are saying. In as much as some people might be silent, some are talking. So they've come to that basic realization that maybe we were given a raw deal by this government in as far as the interests of our people are concerned. And especially the business community that are now crying, especially with the proposed increase in taxes and already the ones that are on the ground that are hurting them. Lastly, Uhuru stands a vindicated man. That one, it is open and it's clear that Uhuru had the interests of the community and the leaders at heart when he came with proposals like the BBI and in regard to his support of the political candidate that was supposed to succeed him. I even saw Sabina Chege admitting publicly that, you know what, I've come to the realization that when Uhuru Kenyatta was handing over power, he did it smoothly and softly. Yes, that is it. Thank you for watching. That marks the end of our analysis. That is the bold analysis.